All right, and good morning, pro traders. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, depending, of course, on where you're joining us from in the world. This is, of course, your host, Christopher Guzman, joining you live for another KickStart PRO morning session. I want to welcome each and every one of you to Wednesday, the 17th of June, 2020. Before we get started, you know the drill, folks. If we can do a quick audio and visual check, if you can hear my voice and see the screen without issue, letting me know in the chat box with a Y or yes would be very greatly appreciated. All right, perfect. Perfect. Good morning, James. Morning, Anthony. Morning, Robin. Morning, Bobby. Hey, good morning. Bobby, you're hilarious, mate. I'm not going to repeat that on air. Figured I'd try something different today. I figured I'd show my face for a change. Yeah, we're in the office. We're rocking and rolling. I'm actually getting some new equipment in, everybody. So between today and Friday, I'm actually getting a proper mic, and I'm getting a brand new webcam. The webcam should be coming today because the plan is to start doing this a lot more frequently. Right. Yes, Robin. Absolutely, mate. I wasn't going to say anything, but it would be greatly, greatly appreciated, Robin. All right, everybody, let's go ahead and jump right in. Morning, Richard. How are you, mate? All right, let's go ahead and jump right in. So the first thing I want to look at, there's nothing really prevalent. I've been having a look this morning. There's nothing really pressing that I can see, at least in terms of the pound crosses. In terms of the euros, might be a little bit of a buying opportunity there on Euro CAD. I'm not entirely sure yet. We'll have to take a look. Elsewhere, Euro Swiss potentially on coming up for a buy as well, so we'll take a look there. So Euro CAD and Euro Swiss are two that I'm going to focus on as we move into the euros. But of course, I'm going to start with our pound crosses. And the very first one I want to start with, is going to be pound Swiss. Just give me 1 second here before we do. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into pound Swiss first. We want to have a look at pound Swiss first. And we've been tracking this nest of what was a nest of support, right? We've been looking at this for a little while, and we know that support and resistance are pretty much interchangeable, right? In that, in other words, previous support becomes future resistance, and previous resistance can, of course, become future support. Okay. What's happened here is initially we saw the market break above this outermost downtrend line, right? We're in the down capital AB boundary. We saw the market break out of this outermost downtrend line and then come back for the test. And on that test, support held and rallied this all the way up to give us a maximum 69.4% retracement. Okay. Now, once that level was hit, you can see the market started selling off again. It came back below. So this, of course, became resistance. And at the time, we were looking at all of this in here, and all of this was green, right? I mean, just the other day, last week, all of this was green. Robin, I've just seen your comment, mate. I will look into that. Let me make a note. Hold on. Let's make a note here. I'll look into that for you, okay? Is that the only one that's disabled, Robin? Yeah, it's possible, mate. We'll have to take a look. All right, so it's only the pound Swiss. Okay, we'll have to take a look. Okay, I may end up calling you later on today, Robin, at some point, just very quickly, just to address that. Okay, if needs be. Right. So back to this. So this initially was green. Just the other day, all of this red that you see here was green because this was, we were anticipating this. All of this would act as support. As the market was trading above. Now, obviously, as the market broke below, all of this turned to resistance, right? So past support became future resistance. Now, future resistance has once again become support, okay? Because we've traded now, we're now back on the back side of this, or on the right side of this, excuse me, which makes this now support, okay? So I'm going to change all this back to green, okay? Because all of this is now once again support. Now there's something else I can do in here. Obviously, following this on a sell-off, I'm all for that anyway, for obvious reasons, right? We have a down capital AB boundary. We've got a maximum 69.4% retracement. So I mean, I'm anticipating an extension down to that anticipated 144 at 111.99 anyway. So I'm bearish down to 111.99 anyway. Along the way, so that's in terms of the capitals. Along the way, we also have an unfulfilled sub 38.2% as our subs are up, and that unfulfilled 38.2 is down at 116.46. Okay, and so I've got plenty of justification for downside opportunity here, I really do. The question is, of course, is this realistic? And then, of course, the question, as we drill down even further, is, does a signal exist to support that? Okay. Now, let me just see something here. Right. Okay. Now, the other thing I can do, okay, to get an added sense is to come in with some additional counter trend lines. Now, I know, it looks like there's a lot of trend lines going on already to begin with. And that's true. There are a lot of trend lines already in place here. But hopefully you can see they're all serving, a very important function. Okay. Now, in terms of this next trend line that I'm going to do, I'm basically just looking at this move here. Okay. So I don't want you to think, I'm just looking at this move here. All right. Because I'm just trying to get a sense of where this is likely to go next. Okay, and so from this low, I'm going to go ahead and grab my trend line, and I'm going to spread it. Okay, so there's one, and then of course this is my highest point of this move. And so this, of course, then becomes 2. Okay, great. So now I've got 2 additional counter trend lines in place here. And that just helps me to see, there's a lot of support, right? There's a whole lot of support. So, getting a sell signal here, I wouldn't be particularly, overly excited about a sell signal. Now, if you wanted to show me a buy signal, on the other hand, that's a different story, because really what this all translates into, if you wanted to kind of, take a simplified look at this, what we're seeing is we've formed this upward channel. Okay. Can everybody see that? Can everybody see how we form this upward channel here? We have 1, 2, 3, at least 3 instances of resistance, possibly even more, right? You could even class this right here. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instances of resistance. Then you've got 1, 2, 3. That can definitely be classed as 4 and 5 instances of support. So right at support, would it make sense for me to be looking to take a sell opportunity right at support? Obviously not, right? Obviously not. And so I'm more inclined toward a buy. Now, it turns out I actually do have a buy signal, at least in terms of the MACD, okay? But out in the field, the question, of course, becomes, does that translate to a move out in the field? Now, I mentioned we're right at resistance, so I'm very comfortable with the idea of a buy signal here anyway, right? But so then we have to look at the actual signal itself. Now, out in the field, we are technically in the sell zone, which doesn't bode well for a buy, obviously, but it's not, it's not a deal breaker, okay? And in terms of in terms of the signal itself, we actually have confluence between what we're seeing on our T3s out in the field and what we're seeing down on the MACD. Okay, so the signal itself is actually coming off of this bullish engulfing candle right here. Okay, now the interesting thing here is that the market since has come down and created a lower low than the previous low prior to that signal, which again does not bode well for a buy, right? If you're looking to get in on a buy, you're not really wanting to get in at a time when the market is making lower highs and lower lows. You're trading against the trending movement of the market, right? Notice I didn't say trend because it's not necessarily the trend. It's just the way the market's trending in the moment, okay? And so at the moment, right, I'm going to be more inclined toward a buy signal here. I want to see a secondary signal come into play, ideally, okay? We've got a couple of additional things here that I'm going to point out in a second, but I want to just first say that in order to get additional confirmation of the move prior to getting in, what I can do, sort of a layer of added security that I can put in place here is I've got 1, 2, 3 bearish candles. So I can actually come in with a counter trend line and a definitive break of that counter trend line. You can see we attempted to break there. It's not really working out too well just yet. But a definitive break, something like another engulfing bull, would likely be enough to give a secondary signal, at least out in the field. If not, in the MACD, at least out in the field. And that would be enough to take a buy, okay? And I would be looking to buy this back up to resistance. Now, obviously, the opposite can also happen. This, support can fail. This can fall right through support. That's fine. If that happens, I'm going to just let it do it. I'm not going to get involved because of the level of risk, knowing what I know going into it, right? Does that make sense, everybody? Okay. Now, so that's pound Swiss. Let me go ahead and take a look elsewhere. Okay, pound Aussie, we still have that unfulfilled 38.2, sub 38.2. We're going to take a look at that in a moment. I want to get an update going on pound yen. I just want to see what's going on here first. Okay, so I think from pound Swiss, I think the next thing I'm going to do is move into pound dollar next. Okay, just because I want to get a sense of what's going on. We have some really good movement here in terms of, trend line breaking behavior. We know, based on the Ultimate Forex Trading course, that whenever the market breaks one trend line, right, it tends to like to move toward the next trend line, to test the next trend line. And so in this particular case, I mean, this innermost trend line right here, obviously this is no longer valid, so I'm just going to get rid of this. It's not a broken trend line, it's an invalid trend line, okay? And so we can't use invalid trend lines. So this then becomes the innermost trend line, and this, of course, is broken. So I'm going to change that. We see the break, the test, the continued sell-off, the break of the secondary trend line, the test, okay? Then you see the fail of the test, you see? And the subsequent continued sell-off. You actually see a secondary test as well. You see the market come back, try to test again. But ultimately, resistance is holding there and pushing this down. So, you know, it's likely at this point that the market makes its way toward this third trend line, this outermost trend line right here, or counter trend line, should I say. Okay. Now, in terms of our fibs, we have a down capital AB boundary. We have a maximum 86% retracement. And now, interestingly, this retracement has come almost all the way back to that A. Doesn't look like it's actually taken it out. We're going to take a look now. I'm going to get in closer and take a look. So my A is at 128.28, and this is a very deep pullback. Very, very deep pullback. 128.28 is my A. This came to 128.13. Okay, so 15 pips away from that A. Okay, which means, just to put that in perspective, if I had my stop placed above the A, 15 pips, you know, then this market came within 30 pips of that stop, which when you're trading a down capital AB boundary, a large down capital AB boundary, that's very close for comfort, right? But you can see the levels are holding. The levels are holding. And as long as the levels hold, I don't have any reason to doubt them, right? As long as the levels hold, I don't have any reason whatsoever to doubt them. And so what we're seeing now is we're seeing the market make its way toward that tertiary or outermost trend line, okay? In terms of opportunities, by the way, the subs are up. Not a lot to talk about there. We have an anticipated sub 2.618 up at 129.78, but obviously the more likely outcome anyway is that the market comes back in to the AB boundary in search of the 38.2%. But then, you know, the second reason that I'm not really, you know, too fussed with that information is obviously the capital state, you know, priority. And in this case, you know, the capitals have not only taken priority, they've taken control from the look of it. Okay. And again, until, you know, these levels tell me otherwise, that's, you know, you're not going to convince me otherwise, right? As long as the levels hold, you're not going to convince me otherwise. Now, being that we have an 86% pullback, that means, of course, that I'm going to be bearish on this down to the anticipated 118, which is at 119.50. As far as those subs, remember I was telling you about the subs. As far as the subs are concerned, I mean, we have additional justification for downside opportunity because in terms of the subs, like I said to you, we're anticipating a 2.618D, which means we have less than a 38.2%, which means we have an unfulfilled sub 38.2% down there at 118.07. Okay, so, you know, my capital target on this is the anticipated 118 at 119.50, and then I have the unfulfilled sub 38.2% at 118.07 as well. So, you know, I've got plenty of justification for a sell. There's plenty of room for downside opportunity. Okay. Question is, do I have a signal? And at least for the moment, the answer to that, just very quickly, is no. That's the sort of simplified answer. The more nuanced answer is not yet, right? Not yet. It looks like I am getting a signal though. And you know, like I say, I do think there's plenty of downside opportunity. I know we're in the, technically we're in the buy zone on the MACD, but the proximity of where the signal is occurring in relation to that zero line on the MACD gives me a little bit more comfort in potentially taking a sell here. Okay. And so I'm going to come in with a counter trend line because I've got, you know, more than my 3 candle minimum. Excuse me. Got more than my 3 candle minimum, right? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got six bullish candles here. So really nice, really strong counter trend line. Okay, there's the break. We've already had the test, and this is already falling. So I tell you what, I really like the look of this pound dollar. I'm gonna wait for the close of the candle. I've got, you know, just under 7 minutes to go before the close of this current candle, I need to wait, obviously, for the close of that candle in order to do anything. I can't do anything just yet, okay? But we've got a couple of things here that definitely support a continued sell. So first of all, right here, dark cloud cover, okay, followed by another dark cloud cover, followed by engulfing bear, okay, followed by another dark cloud cover, which was, that dark cloud cover is what precipitated the breaking of this kind of trend line, okay? And obviously, and with it, obviously, the signal, it's not a signal yet, but the signal that we're anticipating, or that I'm anticipating, will form here, okay? Now, I mentioned, like I say, I'm going to wait for the close of the candle, of course, but if the candle closed looking exactly as it did just, now, and obviously, if we did get the signal, then this is what the setup would look like. And the reason I'm doing this now is so that, these things are already in place. And so, as I go and move on, and when I come back to check on this, as I do, everything's already in place, ready to go, right? Makes sense? So do it now, speed up the process for later. So 125.69 would be my stop, potential stop. All right, then I'm looking at dropping this 10 pips down to 38. Okay, and that's 31 in risk, which means 46 in reward. Which means I should be going after 124.91 at a minimum. 124.91, and oh yeah, I like this. 124.91 is right about there. Okay, so what you're seeing is essentially a play to support. Now, just as a quick side note, okay, just as a quick little side lesson, if you like, and for those of you who are not a student of the UFTC, there's a little freebie for you, right? I'm talking about, of course, a lesson of support and resistance, right? And what are we looking at? What are we watching the market do here? Well, as you see the sell-off occur, you see the market scored a goal, right, and pulled back. Then the market sold off again, came down. What did it do? Right here, scored a goal. And what did it do after? Right, pull back. Now you see the market attempting to make its way, and some, you could even argue this is technically scoring another goal. We're in the region, although I disagree. I think this will fall to actually score that goal, and then we can anticipate. You said it, a pullback, right? And so, this is a level I can anticipate a pullback. This is the level I can anticipate a pullback, and then the next one after that is going to be this one, okay? And if you kind of just, tying this all together, if you bring all of this analysis together, all of this is pointing toward, the going back toward the very basic concepts of the UFTC. One of them, of course, being that as the market breaks one trend line, right, it likes to make its way toward the next one. Okay, so I'm going to keep an eye on pound dollar. I've got about 3 minutes to go for the close of that candle. I may get the signal on the close of this one. I may not. It may take another one. I don't know. Don't have a crystal ball. So we'll have to wait and see, right? And so I'm just going to get rid of these lines here quickly to keep it clean. But I'm going to leave those lines that I plotted for, a hypothetical trade. I'm going to leave those lines exactly where they are, like I say, because I'm going to move on to other things. But when I come back, that's going to be, nice and easy to pick up right where I left off. Okay, I want to take a look at pound Aussie and pound CAD, and then I want to move over to the euros. I just want to take a look to make sure I'm not missing anything in the process here, because I did want to take a look at Euro Swiss and Euro CAD. Now, Euro CAD may potentially be giving off a sell, potentially. I'll have to have a look. Euro Aussie's already on sell. Right. Okay. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna go through pound Aussie and pound CAD, but I'm gonna speed up the process here a little bit because we've got to get. I want to get to those euros as well. I want to see what's going on there. Okay. So speeding up the process, pound Aussie. Let's go ahead and take a look. Unfulfilled sub 38.2% right there at 184.65. We had an upward channel that the market was following quite nicely, ranging back and forth between support and resistance. And so, anticipating a move to that unfulfilled sub 38.2% was, obviously just commonsensical, right? Bigger picture, we also have a down capital AB boundary, okay, with an unfulfilled 38.2% to the upside there as well. Now, the 2.618 for that capital AB boundary is all the way down here at 166.47. So technically speaking, until and unless the market actually comes back to give me a deeper pullback, deeper than that the existing 23.6%, until and unless that happens, I'm still bearish on this toward the 2.618, right? Technically speaking. And actually, let me label this as well while I'm in there. Okay, so this is the anticipated 2.618. Okay, perfect. Now, as I mentioned, we had this upward channel. Obviously, the market has now broken above the upward channel. Okay, excuse me, above. The market has broken below, should I say, below the channel, which of course just means that what was previously support in the channel is now resistance. And you see that already having played out right here. Okay, we already see evidence of this right here. Right, past support became future resistance. See? And now what do we have? Well, we've got a flagpole pennant is what we've really got. Because if you look, we're simultaneously, watch this, simultaneously, okay, we're making higher lows, right, and lower highs. So it's technically a flagpole pennant. Now, flagpole pennant, of course, is a 50-50 indication, but we know that it's pretty likely that the market will just carry on in the direction it was headed prior to the formation of that flagpole pennant, right? And so in this case, obviously that was, well, actually in this case, that would have been up, right? That would have been up. Because if you look, technically speaking, because if you look, we can already see the U-turn here, right? There's also something going on in here that has it has the potential to set up for this. It's not quite there yet, but it's called cup and handle formation. It's another advanced pattern, less commonly used, but so called because you essentially have a U for the cup and then a U for the handle, and then your objective is basically to look at the, similar to like a head and shoulders pattern where you're looking at the neckline with a cup and handle. You're basically looking at that top of the cup line there, and then trading that way. So basically, all that means it's not there yet. This is not that formation yet. Okay, I don't even teach that formation in the course, in the Ultimate Forex Trading course, because it's rare. It's more rare than your King's Crown and your head and shoulders patterns, right? But it does exist, and the cup and shoulder, we would need to see a rally now at this point. We would need to see a rally, so a break out of this flagpole pennant to come, and at least try to break back into this channel. If it does, then that's definitely a cup and handle at that point. Okay, so we don't have it yet. We definitely have a flagpole there. We don't have a cup and handle yet, but there's a chance we do. Now, we're operating off of an existing sell signal. Reason I'm saying all of this prior to saying what the actual signal is, though, is to say that, of course, we've got to take the signal in context. And in context, it's not looking great for a sell, at least right now, especially when you consider the fact this is an existing sell signal. Okay, and so if we look for the actual origin of this signal, you know what? It actually didn't even occur. Realistically, it's off of this. It's off of this here. So I mean, it's a tight signal anyway to begin with, right? Because this would be it right here. This is the signal. Okay. So 38 in risk, 57 therefore in potential reward. Right, okay, 82.14 is what I would be looking to target based on that signal. So right there. So, I mean, it's a good signal. It's just too late to do anything about it, right? It's definitely a good signal. But it's just too late to do anything about it. Morning. And so, we need to wait for further confirmation here. Or, at least we need to wait for this to play out. What I think we're going to see happen here is we're going to see this play out to the target, but then because of that support there by way of that counter trend line, I think, we're going to see it hit that target, but then rally in a big way, or, at least give a big time pullback in a big way. Okay. So that's pound Aussie. Thanks, love. See you later. Oh, hold on. Take a look at that pound dollar. Let's just go back here quickly for a second. We're actually getting a pretty big rally at the moment. See something here. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm just looking to see if there's anything driving this. There's nothing that I can see that would make sense to drive in that rally. Aside from, of course, the buy signal, the existing buy signal. Right, so just a quick update on pound dollar. Okay, just a very quick update on pound dollar because there is an existing buy signal. So just out of curiosity, I just want to see where that existing buy signal actually is and what it looks like. Okay, so there's the signal right there. So that's my signal candle. Okay. It's going to be this bullish engulfing right here. So it's actually right at the entry point at the moment. 10 pips below is going to put me at 39. So that's it's I'm laughing because this signal is like literally, it's almost the exact parameters of the other signal, or the other potential signal that we never ended up actually getting. So 25, 69, and so 30 pips in risk, of course, which means I'm going to do 45 in reward at least. So 26.18, 126.18, right there. Okay. Now, I actually, believe it or not, I actually do like the signal, just simply for the fact that it's a play, back to resistance. It's a pullback, which is needed. I mean, we've had a good amount of sell-off. We have a lot of, bearish signaling going on here. That doesn't change. My opinion on that hasn't changed at all. The difference, of course, is that, we're actually on an existing buy signal, and what was previously, a break of this kind of trend line looks like it may end up being a hold. So actually, I'm going to wait for the close of this candle, okay? Because I don't want to do anything rash, right? You never want to do anything rash. You never want to just kind of, jump in unnecessarily, right? Yeah, I saw the news come out on the GBP, but it's counterintuitive, right? It's counterintuitive. The reaction is counterintuitive. That's why it gave me pause for a minute there. And that's why I said, there's nothing that really explains what's happening. Counterintuitive because obviously, yeah, you're right, CPI fell. So thanks for providing that, Richard. You're absolutely correct. Core CPI fell, and the downturn is expected to continue. Yeah, no, absolutely. So why then is the pound rallying? Right? Doesn't make any sense, right? So that's why I say, there doesn't appear to be anything to explain it from the fundamental perspective. Now, from a technical perspective, that is an existing buy signal. So that's our technical rationale, right? It's a buy signal. So, like I say, I'm going to leave this here. Okay, I've got about 4.5 minutes to go before the close of this candle. So I'm going to leave this here for now. And when I come back, I want to see what's happened. I want to see where the chips have fallen in that part at that point. Okay. Right. I just want to get a quick look over at pound CAD. And then I want to move over to the euro. So pound CAD, we're tracking this upward channel quite nicely. Let me just clean this up a little bit. Got some extra stuff on here that I don't need. Right, okay. So I'm going to clean all of this up in here. Okay. So pound CAD down capital AB boundary. We have a maximum 69.4%. I'm ultimately bearish on this, therefore down to the anticipated 144, down to, at 164.22. We do have an upward channel here though, and we've been tracking that upward channel quite nicely. I mean, it's a combination between an upward channel and just normal consolidation, right? You can actually see this consolidation range here. And that's the thing about the CAD pairs. We talk about this all the time. We say this a lot, but that's because it's true, right? The CAD pairs love to be range bound. They don't like to trend very much. They love to be range bound. And so what you'll see with all of your CAD pairs is they have a tendency, they may give you a nice little run, but then as quickly as possible, you'll see it return to a familiar range. And in this case, this is no exception. I mean, you can see the bulls attempted, or maybe they're still attempting to drive price up, and that would make sense. We have an unfulfilled sub 38.2% right there that I never labeled, that I need to label, but that's at 173.74. Okay, so this is the unfulfilled 38.2%. Okay, up at 173.74, and you can see the bulls really made a noble attempt. Like I say, maybe they're still trying. Good on them. They're trying to drive price higher up to that unfulfilled sub 38.2. And let me actually fix that, because that's got to be accurate. Unfulfilled sub 38.2. There we go. But you can see, the bears weren't having any of it. And overall, I mean, the pound CAD has just stayed inside of this overall consolidation range rather than tracking exclusively with that upward channel, or that the upward channel that the bulls are attempting to maintain. Okay, so as the market came down to support, right, or at least as we're on approach of support, as we're headed into the region of support, I should be looking for a buying opportunity. Now, I've got an existing buy signal here, but that signal, it's actually a failed signal from the look of it. It was here. This was the signal right here. But you can see the market had other things in mind. Okay, so, maybe we'll get, again, a second attempt at a signal now. But we'll have to wait and see. Okay, there's the close of the candle. That is actually a secondary signal in terms of the MACD. Out in the field, though, I don't believe. No. So out in the field, we don't have a signal just yet. What I want to do, though, so before I go, I want to go back to the pound dollar, but before I do, I just want to very quickly jump in here and throw down some trade parameters, because if this were to close right this second, looking exactly at the way it did, maybe with a slight little uptick in that T3 cross there out in the field, then that would qualify as a buy signal. Okay, there's no question that would qualify as a buy signal. And so the reason I'm setting this up now is because, in the event that we leave and come back and this is still the same, I've already got my parameters measured out, right? And I'm ready to go. It's just press go. Right, and so 7021 would be my anticipated entry with a potential stop at 169.85, which means 36 pips in risk. Means I should be going after a minimum of 54, which means I should be targeting 170.75 on this buy, 170.75. Which is round about there. Okay, which again, I'm not opposed to. Certainly not opposed to it. Right? We're, down at support, getting a buy signal, taking it back up toward resistance. Simple stuff, right? Nothing complex or complicated going on in this bit right here, right? Nothing. Where there is a little added layer of complexity, though, is in the analysis and in those hidden levels of support and resistance. And when we're looking at a buy signal, obviously we're paying special attention to hidden levels of resistance, right? Because the last thing we want to do is jump in on a buy right at a big level of resistance where the market is going to just reject us and drive price in the exact opposite way. Right. So I want to wait for further confirmation. I'm going to give it to the close of this candle. I want to wait for a little further confirmation here on pound CAD, just because of the fact that out in the field, I want to see that uptick a little bit, but then that'll likely ultimately be a buy signal. So I'm going to have a look there. Okay. And then in terms of pound dollar. Okay, it's definitely a buy signal, no question there. Definitely a buy signal. What I'm going to do, because I don't want to just jump in at market on this I don't particularly trust it. I don't trust it that much that I'm like, oh my goodness, let me just jump right in. One of the options I do have available to me, though, is I can place an entry limit order at at my intended entry, so that in the event that the market does come back on me a little bit, and comes back to that original price, it'll take me in. Okay, there's one of the options there. Right, and then I just wanted to take a look over at Euro CAD and Euro Swiss, and then that will do it. That we're going to have to wrap up after that for the morning. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at Euro CAD. Okay, and exactly as we said, right? I mean, we just finished talking about this literally 2 seconds ago. We just finished saying how the CAD pairs, all of them, are range bound, and they like to be range bound. Well, sure enough, take a look at Euro CAD, right? This is our consolidation range we've been tracking for some time, and you can see right at resistance, the market has made good effort to drive price back down toward support, thereby just staying inside of its range. Typical, right? And so that trend line is broken. Of course, we know based on the Ultimate Forex Trading course that the market will likely then move toward the secondary trend line, and that's exactly what it appears to be doing. Now, I wanted to take a look at this because of the potential for a sell. I do have a sell set up already according to my counter trend line break strategy. Right, so Darren, if you're in the room, I'm not sure if Darren is with us this morning, but Darren is a champion of this counter trend line break strategy. He loves our counter trend line break strategy, right? But I've already got a signal right there. That's it right there. So knowing that, going into this knowing that, right, I'm hunting for where the actual sell occurred. And it looks like the original one was off of this bearish engulfing candle right here. And then we're getting a secondary confirmation of that off of this one. But I'm going to go with this as my actual entry candle. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab the low. And of course the high. 15 pips above is going to put me at 87, so 152.87. And then 10 pips below this is going to put me at 52. So obviously, this is a signal that's already active. In other words, that entry point has already been touched. Okay, you got a counter trend line break in here too, by the way, FYI. It's actually more aggressive than that. It's all the way up here, actually, because that's your highest high. Right, so 52.87 and 52.52, 35 in risk, which means I should be going after 52 in reward. So that's nice and easy. That just means I should be going after 5,200 even. 5200. Right there, 5200. Okay, now I do like this setup, and so this is a situation where I'm not opposed to just jumping in right at market. I'm only, what is that, 4 pips away from entry, from my ideal entry. That's not bad. That's not terrible. Okay, so this is EuroCAD. I'm going to go ahead and look to set this up in here. Right. Okay, so this is EuroCAD. And I've got 35 in risk. All right, so I've gone ahead and placed that. Okay, there we have it. My actual entry was 52.48. So I'll go ahead and mark that off as well for accuracy. 52.48. Okay. Right. And I wanted to have a quick look over at Euro Swiss. Let me just go back very quickly. Just want to see what's happening. Pound dollar, there goes that buy. Still going strong. That's not come back. And take a look at pound Aussie as well. So just very quickly, let me just show you pound Aussie very quickly. Okay, what did I say? Right? What did we say? I said this likely will come down to the target, which is exactly what's happened here. But now we're, I'm anticipating support to hold here potentially. Now we did have that bit of fundamental news, as you rightly pointed out, just moments ago, and it wasn't positive news for the UK, right? It wasn't positive for the GDP at all. So, that may play a role in overriding this support a little bit, but the support level is definitely there. And so I'm anticipating a support to hold there and start pushing this back up a little bit here. Okay, and then with pound dollar, like I was showing you before, that's on its way. And the train has left the station. If I'm not in already, train has left the station, right? And then with just with pound CAD very quickly, I just want to have a quick look in here. Just have a look at what price action is doing. So nothing really to change, folks. I may actually be placing a pending order at the close of this candle here as well, because nothing's changed the outlook from before. From this previous candle, this engulfing bull here. This is just a test, right? That's what I'm looking for. This is just a test. So I may very well be placing a pending order shortly on pound CAD as well. Right, so Euro Swiss, I just want to take a quick look at Euro Swiss. Okay, because obviously this needs some updating here. Wow, this needs a lot of updating in here. Right, so it's been a little while since I've updated this, but you can see the last time I had put notes on here, and you can see I wrote at the time, sub-bull crown now pushing the sub-C to D wave toward the down capital unfulfilled 38.2% up at 107.87. Well, you can see we went well beyond that. We went all the way up to 109.16. Okay, 109.16. So yeah, this is good. Let me just get. I've got to update this. I've got to clean up some of these lines in here. I'm having a quick look, trying to get some bearings here before we go any further. Okay, max sub 50. Okay, great. So I'm going to go ahead and start cleaning some of these up in here. 1, 3. Okay, this can go. Right. So that trend line is still absolutely valid because that's my highest point right there. Okay. You can see market's broken it and has tested, and we're still below it. So obviously, I'm still going to treat this as resistance as long as we're on the back side of it, right? And now in terms of the subs, we need to get an update going here as well because the subs have fulfilled. Right, so here's the sub maximum 50% right in here. Let's get closer. Okay, and we fulfilled right up here, this little spike right here at the sub 1.618. Okay, see that? So there's the fulfillment. So I can go ahead and get rid of these lines now as well. That makes this my new sub AB boundary, sub up AB boundary. And this time I've got, looks like a 61.8. So I can anticipate a rally up to that sub 1.618 up at 108.76. Okay, 108.76. But at the moment, let's have a look in here. At the moment, we're pretty choppy here, pretty sideways. I mean, we do have an existing buy signal that's currently being tested. So let me just see where that buy signal actually occurred. Oops, what's this? There we go. So it actually looks like it's this little bullish spinning top right here. So of course, you know, with a spinning top, we have spinning top boundary, and you can see how support is holding right there, right? Resistance in the boundary, but because we're outside of it, it's support. Okay, so existing buy signal. Let me go ahead and here. I would use the spinning top as my guide candle. So 10 pips above to 22, 107.22. I'm going to drop this down to 106.98. Okay, 106.98. Okay, so 24 in risk. This means 36 in reward. This means 107.58. It's round about where I should be targeting. Right there. Okay, I'm not crazy about the signal though, to be honest with you. I'm not crazy about it. Right, let me just have a quick look. Okay, so pound CAD. I'm more than likely going to set up that pending order there. Pound dollar, like say one option is to set an entry limit. And then yeah, I'm active on Euro CAD. Unfortunately, that's the only active position I'm in this morning. It's just that Euro CAD, that's it. But you know, you can't force it, and I don't see anything else really that's really jumping out at me as far as, you know, current opportunity, right? So with that being said, everybody, unfortunately, we are all out of time. I want to thank you all for joining me this morning. It's been great. I hope you all are having a wonderful week so far. Continue to do so. I will see you all again Friday morning at the same place and the same time. Until then, folks, you know the drill. To your health, wealth, and happiness always. This is Christopher Guzman signing out and saying good day. Take care, my friends, and see you soon. Bye-bye.